Hi math friends, today we're looking at one-step equation word problems. Let's dive right in here. This says you are making muffins. The recipe calls for 5 cups of sugar. You already put in 3 cups. How many more cups do you need to put in? Well, when we look at this problem we might just think, well that's easy, that's 5 minus 3 and I get 2. So if we have a word problem like this that's a little bit simpler to solve, that'll really help us with writing equations because we know that the answer should be 2. So let's look at what we know. We know that we need 5 cups of sugar, and we're looking for how many more cups do you need to put in. So when we're writing our equation, that the thing that we're trying to look for we'll say is our variable. So we'll say x equals the amount of sugar needed. So we have to define our variable here. We say x is the amount of sugar needed. So when we write our equation, we can say 5 equals x. And now what did we already have? We already put in 3 cups. So we already have 3 in here. So now we've written an algebraic equation. So we can go ahead and solve this. So I want to solve this just like we were doing before. Look at both sides of the equation. Instead of plus 3, we'll do minus 3. And then we get 2 equals x. At the end, since we're dealing with a real world situation, we're going to go ahead and write a sentence about this. We'll say you need 2 more cups of sugar. All right. Again, with these types of problems, these might be a little more simplistic because they are one step. We want to get into being able to write these types of equations because when we get into more complicated problems, it may not be apparent as to just what a one step would be to get to that. So if I can write this equation from this situation, that's really great. Let's look at another example. Last week you ran 30 miles. This week you have run 12 miles so far. How many more miles do you need to run to reach the same amount as last week? So let's read it again to ourselves and define our variables. So we're trying to find how many more miles do you need to run to reach the same amount as last week. So we'll have our variable. We can use any variable we want to. I'm going to continue to use x. X equals the distance needed. And I'm going to say to catch up. All right. So let's see. So last week was 30. This week we've already run 12. So we're going to have our x. We need x more, right? So that means adding x plus 12. Again, you might say to yourself, oh, this is 30 minus 12. Let's try to write an equation like this, though, because, again, when there's more complicated problems, we want to be able to write an equation from this situation. So this is a great way to get started on this. Instead of plus 12, do the opposite, minus 12. Remember to balance the equation, I need to do that on the other side. So I get 18 equals x. And that was a distance needed to catch up. And when I look back at the distance that we had was in miles. So we'll write a sentence here. So you need to run 18 miles to reach the same amount as last week. We'll make sure to have a sentence at the end there too and make sure that that's labeled. I labeled this as 18 miles. All right, let's check out one more example. You had $42 and bought a game for $17. How much do you have left? Again, you might just think 42 minus 17, that's easy to do. Let's look at being able to define variables and write an equation because that's the skill we're looking at. X equals money left over. And I want to write an algebraic equation here, so I can say 42 equals, I bought a game that was $17, so 17 and my money left over. Okay. Look carefully at the way this is written too. Before we had variable plus a number, look at the number itself. So variable plus a number, we can write that either way, right? So I can do minus 17 on both sides. Also, if it looks confusing to you, remember the commutative property of addition. If I have, for example, 5 plus 2 is 7. If I reverse them, 2 plus 5, I still get 7. So because this is addition, I can go ahead and write x plus 17 here. I wouldn't be able to do the exact same thing with subtraction, but because it's addition, I can do that, and that might be a good thing for us to be able to do going forward. So let's subtract 17 on both sides. And I get x over here. And then left side, when I subtract those, I'm going to get 25. And then we'll make sure to write a sentence at the end. We'll say, I have $25 left over.